Well, I think our guys are excited to get back into game week. Had a good week last week in the preparation. We got a little jump on Auburn. Did a little bit of good on good. Got some guys healthy. Got them in a position where hopefully they can put together a good game plan this week. Excited. For the seniors, it's a very special week for them. It'll be their last game here in Razorback Stadium. Have had limited opportunity to get to know these guys, obviously just walking in December, but wouldn't trade my time with them for anything. Getting to know them, getting to go through certain things, having them come in my office as complete strangers, and hopefully when we take the game field on Saturday, how much I love them and trust and have faith in them, and vice versa. So a lot of guys really grow. Certain guys take a step forward and excited to be a part of their lives forever. So it'll be one of those events that's very cool to be a part of. It can also be very emotional, so hopefully those guys will be able to lock it out and lock into a game. Obviously playing a very good football team, Auburn, and what they brought to the table, are playing extremely well. Another ranked opponent for us, another team that is playing very well, and it's easy to see they've gotten better in every game, and I'm excited about the opportunity.
I'm going to go out on a limb here and assume you consider all SEC coaches rivals, but given Gus Malzahn's ties to the state and the back and forth banter between the two of you this summer, is it a little bit heightened?
I really don't know Gus. I mean, obviously, I know the history, and I might have shaken his hand on 2 different occasions, never had a conversation with him. I know everybody kind of plays that stuff up, and now with the whole film thing, too, it's going to get a little bit blown out of proportion, too, but we'll let the league office handle that. So I think the biggest thing for us is just know that it's always about the players. It's about the players and what they do on the field. It doesn't have anything to do about where coaches came from. I had a little bit of this experience. I played at Iowa, so when I was at my previous institution, we got down to the end of the year. We were 10-1 and going to my alma mater for the first time as a head coach, and a lot of things that were built up in the media. But it's been my experience as a head coach. It really lessens as game time gets closer. A lot of times it's right after the game that it means a lot. Obviously, Tim Horton played here. We know there's quite a few coaches that had working experience and playing experience here.
Pardon my ignorance, but what film thing?
You know what? The SEC, they'll handle it. They're just some clips that haven't, shall we say, the TV copy doesn't match the film copy, and it's something that we've kind of been aware of now for the last week and a half and getting our preparation. So we can use other film and stuff like that to make sure we're getting a full picture.
Coming from them?
SEC, the office will handle it. I know that they'll be on top of it. Commissioner Slive and Steve Shaw do a good job.
You are talking specifically about Auburn today, right?
That's what we're playing. Yeah.
What did you guys get better last week? What was
Your focus there?
There's a big emphasis on offense, defense, and special teams, just doing the core fundamentals. Defensively in particular, making sure that we tackle, read our keys, and react the way we're supposed to. Offensively, simple things, catching the football, ball security, working on the timing of routes, and then special teams, a big emphasis on just, it's midway point in the season. Obviously, through the SEC conference, everybody's got films. We want to make sure you break any tendencies or anything that shows up.
You've talked, and we've heard like Chris Ash talk about, despite the lack of success, we're staying the course and we're going to keep doing what you're doing. Could you be more specific to what that means? Does that mean you're going to keep calling the same types of plays on both sides of the ball, or what does that mean?
You know what? There's as long as I've been coaching defensive football, there's some things that kids just got to learn. There's a play in the Alabama game where the play never gets leveraged. There's about 5 guys running inside out that would be able to make a tackle and stop it from being a big game, but the ball never gets leveraged, so it ends up being over a 45-yard scoring run, I believe it was. And it's as simple as a guy getting leverage on the football, whether it's a defensive lineman, a linebacker, or a secondary player. If they just learn that if they leverage that football, all their help's coming from inside out. And that's what we mean we're going to keep doing. The call doesn't change, the results have to, but as far as the breakdown and the result of the play can easily be fixed if people just learn, the finer points of how it can work together. Does that make sense? We will obviously modify our calls according to what our guys do well, and what they don't do well.
Auburn was 0-8 in the league last year, 3-9. Based on the film, whatever it is they've sent you, based on that, what do you see and how they turned it around so fast?
Well, starting off on offense, obviously, they run the spread offense similar to what so there probably is a little bit more carryover, for them just as far as the tempo, the style of play, all that goes into it. Gus has got an extremely unique package that, obviously they're grasping very, very well, and they got players that fit into it. I think that their execution has gotten better every game, which means that the kids are buying into it 100 degrees and are executing. They had a couple things defensively that you can see they've rectified as the year goes on. They're playing very, very solid. I think their front seven is extremely talented. Their back end is very gifted, very athletic, very fast, and they've taken advantage of some special team stuff. I think they're -1 maybe in the turnover thing, so they've secured the football and also taken away the football as well.
What's Nick Marshall showing you, their new quarterback?
Obviously, they're #1 in the SEC in rushing the football, and he's a valuable part of that. Whether it's a read zone or a quarterback run game, or he makes the right call on where the ball needs to be handed off, and when he's very efficient. A guy that, again, I think he's gotten better every game. You can really see in game confidence. That A&M game, they were just going match score for score, and that was a pretty impressive game to watch.
I think your team's -9 turnover margin in conference play. How frustrating has that been for you on both sides?
Very, very frustrating. I think first on defense, we got to do a better job of capitalizing on the opportunities when they come our way, whether it be a strip attempt or there's so many times where you can see a ball that could possibly have a better result for us, whether it's ball security, hitting the quarterback from the blind side, ball carrier that doesn't have the ball secured high and tight. I don't remember a lot of plays. There's a couple that jump out of my mind where, if we can make the play on the ball, an interception might be a little bit of an opportunity. And then special teams, obviously, we've given up the ball a couple times on special teams, which can never happen.
We talked last week a little bit about possible lineup changes moving forward. Are there any players who might see added or more playing time this week?
Yeah, I think on offense in particular, DeArthur Collins had a great week last week and probably his best practice on Thursday. Made a big deal of it after the game. Keon Hatcher as well, as far as catching the ball and doing what they need to do. A couple guys on the offensive line, I think Grady Ollison is finally feeling, I think 100%. So he's a guy that could work back up and give us a little bit of depth there at the tackle position. Also on special teams, DeArthur Collins was our #1 punt returner before he went down. So not only on offense, but in the punt return game as well. And then defensively, Martrell Spate is back with us. He really hasn't played a lot in the last couple games, and a guy that we feel has got tremendous upside, as well as in the back end. Now that the two players that we lost, Will Hines and Robert Thomas, were playing as good a football as I've seen them play on both the games that they got hurt on, and to have their backups have another couple weeks of preparation, whether it's Darius Philon, whether DeMarcus Hodge in there at the defense tackle, those two have kind of stepped into Robert's role, and then on the back end, Jared Collins, Carol Washington, a little bit of DJ Dean, who've stepped into Will Hines' role.
On the videotape, do you have everything you need to put together your game plan? And
you know what it was? It was just for instance, like the first play of the game on Saturday night on the TV copy, they have a swinging gate at the beginning of the play, which obviously happened. It was on the TV copy, and when we got the video copy from them today, that exact same play doesn't show any of the gate. It just shows them lined up in a field goal PAT. So if I hadn't watched a TV copy, or if our guys hadn't had the time to go back and review, we would have never have known that to happen. So I'm sure it's a glitch. I know Gus stands for everything that's right and great faith and doing things right, so I'm sure it's just a glitch that they'll get to the bottom of.
Going back to the summer, when you're talking about spread offenses and injuries and pace, is it more or less just pace that you're more concerned with health with players, or is it spread offenses in general?
Well, I think spread offenses are great. We have versions of spread offense. Obviously, on down and distance, it's. I think the people that throw those two together aren't really looking at the full content of it. It's strictly the pace of the game. Play teams that run a pro style hurry up offense as well. So it's really about the pace of the game. What's been interesting to me is obviously I haven't had any time since the beginning of the season of where we are today, but I've heard from so many different people that have reached out about studying the analysis in the database, and it goes way beyond what I have time to do right now. But it's definitely the pace of the game.
Just with spread offenses you've played, I mean, you feel comfortable that you'll be able to substitute, do the things you need to do?
You know, our best, obviously, our 3 wins were all against spread offenses. You know, going back to my time in Wisconsin when I was with Chris and Charlie, we played Oregon. Hat for hat with a 3-point game with as fast an offense as anybody I've ever seen. So I'm really not concerned about that.
You handle yourself on Twitter pretty well. There was a situation in Nebraska this week where, after the loss, fans were all over players, making fun of their dog diet and that kind of stuff. What do you think of fans, I guess, kind of baiting players into, comments on Twitter, and what advice do you give to players how to handle it?
Again, I don't have any set rules on social media. Encourage guys to think about all the things that could possibly go wrong out of a quick situation or a quick decision. It's just one of those things that you got to pay the consequences. If you're a person that actively takes part in it, we have certain guys obviously that do. It's just a time factor. I guess guys have time. As me as a head coach, I haven't, just strictly because I just don't have time to do anything right now. It is a valuable part of recruiting for us still, but if somebody wants to, especially, I mean, I understand coming after me. I get it. I mean, I totally understand. The sentiments of, even some of the stuff that's coming up now with Gus and his time here. And I understand when you leave, people are going to have opinions. But when you're talking about 18 to 22-year-old kids that aren't getting paid, and I understand they get a scholarship and all that goes into it, but if you're deliberate, I think the first thing I remember really was going back a couple years ago when the Georgia quarterback, right, when there's something that happened with the eggs at the house and all that jazz, and I'm like, who would take the time to viciously attack a college kid like that? And social media is a whole other set of parameters, so it's just people in today's age, I think, feel the right that they can throw those kind of things out there.
You tweeted an article last night from 2 years ago about spread offenses and how it's not allowing offensive linemen to fully develop. You may just tell me a little bit more about that, why you believe that.
You know what? That's more of a recruiting-based thing. That's not if we were playing us this week, I would have tweeted it. It was more recruiting-driven. One of the things that has really been the biggest part of Twitter that's been since I've been here is the ability to have kids see things that you instantly can't provide them. So if a kid is in the middle of a recruiting decision, you can point out the fact of how our style of offense has produced more NFL players and done certain things. That's strictly what it's based off of, and I can assure you that has nothing to do with Auburn. That was unrelated in any way.
Tight ends and what they've really done for you this year.
Well, Hunter Henry has been an outstanding addition. Obviously, a kid that is up for the Mackey and continues to impress us and amaze us on a daily basis. What he did in high school at Pulaski was he was kind of just a wideout. Obviously played the tight end position, but he wasn't really in the line of scrimmage. So what he's done there is really even just kind of amazed me. Mitch Lavin has played his best 2 games since getting Austin Tate back. He's been a tremendous leader for us on the field, off the field. Does a lot of really, really good things that I think has allowed Hunter to grow, Mitch to grow, and also to a certain extent Volsky.
Like you guys are regrouped mentally this week, and how needed was it?
It was good. I really challenged the kids during the bye week to take a moment to decompress, take a self-inventory of what you can do better. I asked our coaches to take 2 things at every position that are basic principles to make sure that we get better at them during the bye week. A big part of our program right now has been trying to get kids to understand that to care for themselves, to care for their teammate, to care for how we play the game, to care for our program. I thought it was a great. I was sitting there Saturday afternoon, and we got a text from Pete Wyden, who was in charge of our community service. We had 16 kids go to Habitat for Humanity from 9 a.m. till noon on Saturday and help build a home. And we had 4 guys signed up on Thursday, and that showed me that there's a lot of guys that wanted to give up their free time to do that. DeMarcus Hodge went to a 5K run for breast cancer awareness at 8 o'clock in the morning on his only Saturday off. So that's a great indicator to me that the arrows are up. And it may sound silly, but I guarantee it's all tied together. We had the best academic report on Thursday that we've had since I've been here, as far as guys taking a little bit of initiative and getting some things done and turning their grades into positives. So all those things show me that we're going in the right direction. It's just we all want to get there sooner than later.
Is Corliss Marshall a running back or a defensive back?
A bit of both. Depends on the day. He hits me up last week. I made a deal with him that he started on Wednesday. He could practice at safety. He really wants to get back there. I really like what he brings to the table in the return game. So he'll be, we're counting him as a safety moving forward in our plans and recruiting wise. But he's kind of double dipping right now as we speak.
He can still play some running back.
Absolutely, yeah. He's just so powerful. He's got something a little bit different than Jay Will and what Alex brings. Nate was dinged up there for a couple, 2 or 3 weeks too. So to get Nate right and get him back into the flow of things, it's kind of just who gave us. Cody obviously can do some things too. So it's just a matter of what the situation is. Corliss will still be back there for us on kick returns and trying to utilize what guys give us best.
Did you say you thought DeArthur would be your lead punt return guy now, or you were?
No. Yeah, we started getting involved. That was the last thing we wanted to put on his plate. We wanted to let him get back to kind of how we were doing things at the wide receiver position. Then he gradually worked his way back there, and then during the bye week kind of challenged him to do that, and would like to get our return game obviously going a lot better in the punt return and kick returns, and we think he's a guy that can possibly afford to do that.
Hey, how often do you look at the TV film and compare it to what film you get? Is that something you do every week?
To be quite honest, it's one of the luxuries of having a bye week. A lot of times you get so ingrained into your preparation, you just naturally go to the film that's sent to you and you just work off of it. Because of the extra time here, usually we'll take 2 or 3 games and have the GAs, see if there's anything glaring that jumps out. Maybe you can, hear an audible here or something. You don't really ever expect to see something different in what's actually going on the field, So it was a benefit for us, and then we were able to go back in the last 48 hours and just make sure we review all the television copy to the copy that we were sent for any discrepancies.
Is it more than just that one game? You guys have
Again, I'll let the SEC office handle it. I'm sure that it'll be handled in the right way.
Coach, you talked a little bit about it, but the senior class going on. I don't think there's ever been a senior class that's gone through what they have.
Let's hope they never have to, at least while I'm here.
How much respect have you gained for those guys that are going out on Saturday?
Words can't describe how much respect I have for them, and that's why I'm disappointed for everybody. I mean, obviously I know all fans and everybody from me to our staff to our families would rather be in it. But the reason I never wavered from commenting on how I want to have success now is because of those seniors. I think when they were on their recruiting trips, when they were here as freshmen and really as sophomores, things were going pretty. No one could describe to them the events that they were going to go through that had nothing to do with themselves. It was an events, a chain of events that were brought about by events that they didn't have a part in or have a hand in, and they did to a certain extent. I get it, but to come full circle to where we are now. To have a love for those guys that's truly genuine. I was to see some of these guys react and talk and say certain things to me and some of my coaches about a lot of the seniors have commented, wish they could go back in time and start it over with us, which is a tremendous compliment, means the world to me. But bottom line, they've got 4 guaranteed games left, and I'm trying to, a lot of people have made a comment. I brought up to our team last week. Okay, so we're a 3-5 football team. You got 4 games in front of you. If you win those 4, you'd have a winning record. You'd also have the ability to go to a bowl game. There's a lot of incentive and a lot of motivation there. But the number one motivation, in my opinion, for us in this week of playing Auburn is to gain respect. Is to play the game the way you know you're capable of playing. Play a 4-quarter game for these seniors that it's the last time for them in Razorback Stadium, and give them something to walk out with their head high.
Bret, just going back to preseason, the defense you thought you were going to have and how much Rohan Gaines was going to play a part of it.
Yeah.
And I guess Lake really, both of those guys were going to be your playmakers.
Yeah.
And play in different positions, I guess.
Yeah, I think, Jay Lake has been a guy that he's really played all those different linebacker positions. To get him to play consistently and to get him to play at a level that you need to win in the SEC is a major goal of ours, major mission. He definitely has the right heart, the right attitude, and we just got to get him more detailed oriented. Rohan, I know it's been a frustrating season for him. He got injured in fall camp, missed a little bit of time, and then got obviously injured during the season. And the good response is, through that we've had the emergence of AT, and AT has done some things, but he's really playing football for the first time. It's nice to see Sleepy get back in there, but now for these next 4 games as coaches, we got to not only making decisions about where we're at right now, but also recruiting decisions. What kind of players we need to bring in, what type of players we potentially need to recruit, and what position to give us the numbers that we need for us in the future.
You mentioned Sleepy.
Gaines is a safety. I guess that would have been my question.
What's that?
Gaines he's
still safety. Yeah, we play him in that nickel position, which takes on the feature of a linebacker / corner / safety, whatever we ask him to do. But I definitely see him as a safety prospect right now.
You mentioned Sleepy. Where's he fit right now?
He got in there a little bit at safety and a little bit at nickel. When Rohan went down, he played nickel for us last week. I know he's also obviously played corner too, but he's a guy today. Just half hour ago, I was walking by Coach Johnson's office, and he was in there watching film. So he's a guy that's engaged and hopefully going to play good football.
Bret, you said last week you personally wanted to handle all the recruiting calls, talking to people. Are you finding it challenging to keep your commits through these troubling times?
Not so much. We have an X number of recruits that were committed to us. I went on the road quite a bit last week. I was out Sunday night, Monday, Tuesday morning. And then went back on the road Thursday afternoon, all day Friday. Was in, I believe, 13 stops in Dallas, in that area. The excitement, especially when you're relying on places that you've been. I've been in, I think, every school that I went in on Friday. I'd been in there as a head coach at the University of Wisconsin, so we'd recruited kids there. They know what we're all about. I think the excitement of being able to come in the SEC, one of the things I constantly sell is one of the driving forces to coming to Arkansas was to give people something they never had before, which is an SEC championship. And obviously that is a very alive and real thing. The more you can stress that, and kids that want to do that, they kind of gravitate to this situation. There'll be a couple that'll obviously waver and go through some transition or listen to some outside voices, and you just keep taking a day-to-day approach.
When you see what Auburn's doing and Missouri's doing based on what they did last year, does that give you more hope for a quicker turnaround?
Yes and no. I mean, obviously, both different case scenarios. Missouri, their staff's been there a long time. I think the fact that that's their first year in the league and the transition they went through to get to where they are now gives you its own story. Auburn's its own unique. Obviously, they won a national championship in the last 5 years, so they got good players and what they've been able to accommodate. And obviously, Gus has had success wherever he's been. So each case is great for them. It does give hope, I guess, for the outside world. What gives me hope on a daily basis is being in this building, being around my coaches, being around our players, being around our recruits, and knowing where we're going.
All right, thank you, Coach.